Hey everyone, welcome back to In a Pinch. I'm Chris, and today we're talking about Ettan original portion. Camera is just not going to want to focus today. We'll get by. Anyway, so I originally wanted to review this alongside Ettan Lus. When I was in the snooze before a few years ago, and mostly using Lus, if you were liking it to coffee, Rotolocket was my light roast. Ettan was my medium. Grof was obviously my dark roast, and then from time to time, and a little bit too much at the end there, Odin's Extreme became my espresso. So Ettan wasn't my all day. If I had to pick an all day out of all of them, I'd be kind of a type between Rotolocket and Grof. But Ettan is absolutely classic, and any lover of tobacco really can't get around at least trying Ettan. So I'm still playing with formats. I'll start out by reading a little bit of history about Ettan according to Mo over at Snooze Central. It says, originally manufactured by well-known snooze producer, I'll need you guys' help pronouncing this. I'm going to guess it's Younglof in 1822. Ettan Snus is one of the oldest snus brands in Sweden. Launched in a portion snus version in 1990, Ettan portion snus is a classic snus flavored with the pure taste of tobacco. The point I want to drive home there was that this flavor, this blend, is nearly 100 years old. Now, I mentioned I was a big fan of Rotolocket Lus, and I saw that for a while I was out of the whole snus thing, that there was a Rotolocket portion launched. And a lot of people said that it didn't taste like the Lus, which is why I wanted to do back-to-backs. But I have this one can left, and I want to use it this weekend, so I'm going to go ahead and start. Again, responding to feedback, I think what I'm going to do from now going forward is, if it's a snus that I have a lot of experience with, I've gone through at least a few cans of in the last month, I'll just go ahead and review it out of the can. If it's not, then I'm going to take the lead from Stiff Upper Lip, who's quickly becoming one of my favorite reviewers of any genre, not just snus, but just in general, becoming one of my favorite reviewers. I'm going to take his lead, and I'll start with a fresh, unopened can. We'll talk about it, and then I'll come back and review it after I've gone through the can. This is my second candidate. I feel qualified, but again, we're responding to feedback, and it's not a bad idea. Sometimes the more you use something, the more you notice. Anywho, so let's talk about the can. The camera is not going to be super cooperative, so I do apologize for that. It's kind of overcast here in Illinois right now. It was supposed to rain. It kind of misted, and I think it's going to blow over by this evening. But the light's not great. And the lamps in here kind of make me look yellow. So this is what I've got to work with right now. Front of the can, really simple, Swedish match with 3 stars. Ettan, original portion. I believe the top translates to Swedish snus since 1822. But again, I will accept corrections. Going across the side of the tin, you have Ettan original portion. Again, if I'm pronouncing it right, Younglof, snus number 1, Stockholm. You have the Gothia Tech standard, and then going around, you have the Ettan original portion, Younglof, snus number 1, 1822. Repeats 3 times. On the back, you have the apparently now changed standard warning. It used to say, and this was pointed out by Salzburg snoozer out in Austria. I never would have noticed, not being a native Swedish speaker. But after he mentioned, I went back and looked at my older cans, and he's right. The word for tobacco used to be followed by can. So it used to say this tobacco product can cause health problems and is addictive. Now they took out can to imply this tobacco product causes harm and is addictive. So it's kind of part of an interesting swing in views on snus in Sweden and policies abroad. And eventually, I'm going to do a video about that because I've long since updated myself on it, and now I'm keeping up with developments. My condolences to the UK, by the way. Anyway, so yeah, it's a pretty basic can. I don't know if I got around to actually mentioning in my last video or not, but I'm not going to do a whole lot of focusing on packaging unless it's something like really cool. Because coming from the world of cigars and pipe tobacco, especially, too much stock is put on labeling and design elsewhere in the tobacco world, and there are some pretty subpar sticks and blends that people interpret to be better than they are because they're in impressive packaging, or they just manage to sell for more money because it's an impressive packaging. But the can looks very classic, as it should, being Ettan. Behind the Ettan on the front, you do have the seal, and then along the side of the can, and the camera's not going to pick it up again because of the lighting, but there's fine detail there that almost reminds me of code proofing in currency. So that's pretty cool too. The catch lid, being Swedish match, is damn near the whole top of the can, so you can fit quite a bit in there. Again, I tend to scoop my tins out as soon as I get to a garbage can, so I couldn't tell you how many you can fit in there, but certainly more than you would need to fit in here before getting into a garbage can. So let's go ahead and crack the can and see what we've got. Now inside you have 24 original portions. Looks to be about the same moisture as any other Swedish Match original portion. Fairly wet, kind of soppy. They do come out kind of discombobulated, so you'll have to fluff them a little bit, but not a big deal. Let's see. Already done. Fluffs out pretty good. Now, interestingly, on at least on Snus Central, and I guess I didn't dig as deep as I could have into it, but at least on Snus Central, all it mentions is that there's 24 portions. It doesn't mention the nicotine strength, and it doesn't mention the weight per portion, or even the total weight of snus, so you can divide that over the portions and get the weight per portion. There we go. I broke out my digital scale. Go ahead and open that. Not mentioning the nicotine level, I'm assuming is going to be the average for a Swedish Match original portion at 8 milligrams per gram. Again, I'm assuming that because I don't know. So get the scale carried, and for control purposes, I'm going to weigh a Labo 2 portion, which I already know to weigh 0.9 grams per portion. Hoping to review this in the near future. Go ahead and weigh that, and yep, 0.9. Alright, so take this Ettan portion, and these portions weigh 1 gram. These are 1 gram portions, so I'll show you a little. That's definitely not going to come up on the camera. Take my word for it. It's a 1 gram portion. It's weird because it feels about as full as a 0.8 or a 0.9, but this is a pretty accurate digi. It does not lie, and that is a 1 gram portion. So set that off to the side. Let's talk about tin notes. Out of the can, I get almost the same thing I get from Ettan Loose. I get, by the way, guys, is it loose? Loose? I know we call it loose, but if I were to pronounce it right, is it loose? Los? No, let me know. Anyways, it smells a lot like that, but a little bit sweeter. Probably because of the extra wetting process, portions get an extra spray down of polypropylene glycol, which does add sweetness. The white portions don't get that, so the white portions will always come a little bit closer to the loose. But other than that, I get the same thing. It's a dark, almost bitter chocolate, like not like a high percentage cacao chocolate. If you had like a 50-60% cacao, like that, and peppers. Very good stuff. I'm going to take this portion that I already fluffed up, pop it in, take a sip of coffee, and we'll return when I finish the can. Alright, so got to the bottom of the can. Pop the last portion in, fluff her up a little bit. Alright, so my final verdict on Ettan original portion. Shortly after popping it in, you get pretty much everything that you smell out of the tin. You get kind of a rich dark chocolate, a little bit of salt, and some pepper. It goes on and gets more intense over the course of 20 minutes, and at about the 30-minute mark, those flavors kind of start to fade away to the undertones that you didn't notice were there before, but then when you go pop the next portion in, you notice that too, of cinnamon and burnt coffee. The flavor, all in all, being that this is tobacco blend with no additional flavorings, lasts for quite a long time, and you can almost forget that you even have this in your mouth. So, my final verdict, I don't do rating systems, and I guess I've covered that for my snuff videos. I'll cover that in the future for my snooze videos and explain why I don't do a number rating system. But would I use this all day, every day? No, I would not. Would I use it frequently and keep it around to break routine? I would. It's just a little bit mellow as an all-day tobacco snooze for me. I like a more thick, rich, dark, spicy tobacco myself. That said, comparing this with the loose is just better to me. It is richer. It doesn't have the sweetness that the extra spraying of propylene glycol gives the original portions. It does seem to last longer. I do prefer the loose to the original portion. That said, I'm curious to try the Ettan Vit portion, as the white portions don't get the extra polypropylene glycol spraying, and so I'd be curious if that's closer to the loose. That's about all I have to say about Ettan. It's great stuff. So far, I'm more impressed by the loose than I am by the original portion. But it is good, and if you're totally turned off to loose across the board, definitely give Ettan original portion a try. It is a good measure against which to judge other tobacco-centric tobaccos. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Again, I'll be playing around with the format a little bit more. Oh, real quick. If Ettan original portion were a cigar, it would be I'm gonna go with the Arturo Fuente Chateau Rothschild. If Ettan original portion were a pipe tobacco, I'd go with Orlick Dark Strong Kentucky. If it were a snuff, it would be a snuff that doesn't exist. It'd be either a spicier version of Taupe Original, or it would be a more mellowed out version of Old Mill Ivory Toast. So that's my 2 cents. Again, I'll be playing with the format a little bit. If you guys want to get a hold of me, it should be an email at the address below. Outside of that, you guys be safe this week. God bless, and salud.